So I think I owe Woodrow Wilson half an apology. This is the guy who was president of the United States in the 1910s. He's the guy who took the United States into World War One. For years, I've described him as the guy who instituted the income tax and used it to go create Adolf Hitler. I don't back off that at all. In fact, if it weren't for Woodrow Wilson getting into World War One and pushing that war in a direction it didn't need to go, it wasn't going, there would have never been an Adolf Hitler. Like, that's definitely Woodrow Wilson's fault. But I've been researching a lot more, and I'm realizing that I fell for a lot of propaganda. The propaganda says that the United States was an isolationist power in the 1920s, and frankly, that's nonsense. US politicians didn't want to deal with the fact that they were running Europe, didn't want to deal with the fact that Europe belonged to them financially. I'm talking about the Germans, the French, the British. Nothing could happen in Britain in the 1920s and 1930s without US say so. And US bankers made a ton of money off of that. US bankers in the Dawes and Young plans basically completely reoriented European finances a couple of times. And those are only like the biggest bits. There's a lot of understanding that in the 1940s, the United States had this position of unparalleled power because everything was destroyed. Honestly, we were probably more powerful in the 1920s, which is an interesting thing to realize. So I'd always been like, wow, Woodrow Wilson really screwed up Europe, and then he sort of left it alone to ferment into Hitler. Actually, I think that while Woodrow Wilson, the Democratic president, is still the more responsible, the succession of three Republican presidents that followed, and even FDR a little bit, also bear this responsibility because the United States ran the world in the 1920s. And US bankers made a lot of money off of running the world in the 1920s. And these Republican presidents basically screwed it all up. Like, there was no real independent range of action in Germany, France, or the United Kingdom in the 1920s. They were all US client states, and those Republican presidents let Hitler develop, frankly. It's kind of interesting to realize that. Woodrow Wilson is still like a big boogeyman in my understanding of world history, but those Republican presidents that followed him, it might have been neglect, but it was pretty malign neglect. And if any of them had made better decisions, we probably could have avoided World War II entirely. I don't mean like we could have stayed out of World War II, because that was not an option we had. I mean, World War II would not have happened if it weren't for the actions of US presidents, Democratic and Republican.